Welcome to the King Connections podcast. I'm your host, King, and I'm joined today by authors of the Enigma Series, Breakfield and Burkey. I'm sorry. Forgive me for
Oh,
that.
you're fine.
How you all doing today?
We're doing fine.
Awesome.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Thank you all for your investment of time and energy and joining me on today's podcast. So the first question I like to begin with is really just kind of set the context, and that is to ask, what's your spiritual energy number? And what I mean by that, I mean from a number ranging from 0 being life sucks to 10 being life is awesome. Where would you all say you kind of fit in that spectrum right now?
I think if I answer for myself, probably very close to the 10. I recently started a new job, but my energy level is outstanding, and I'm just desperately happy.
Excellent.
That works for me too. Just so we're comfortable and we're on the same page. I'm desperately happy. There it is.
Thank you. The reason I asked that question, I'm a firm believer, and Einstein once said that energy is everything, and everything is energy. And I've learned that when I host meetings, when I do my presentations, events, I always ask that question so I can get a sense of how the people in the room, what's their energy levels. Because if it's a lot of 2s and 3s, then I realize I would ask those people to leave the room because they're not going to be engaged, not going to be present, and they're going to be antagonistic. But when people are 8 or better, that's where I believe miracles can happen, and they're going to be engaged, and we can have a great conversation. So thank you for indulging me with that question.
No problem. And I have found in our previous conversations together, your energy level is over the top. So that's part of the reason we really, really wanted to do this, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I definitely believe it's something you manually set, to be honest. It's a choice we make regardless of whatever happens in our lives, because life is going to happen to us regardless. Whether someone hits your car, someone whatever happens, it's about how you react to what happens. And so for me, I want to keep my energy level high because I don't see no value in choosing anything less than that. So I look forward to this conversation. And as we begin, my first question I love to ask folks like yourselves is, what do you see as your purpose in life?
We would offer that we want to be storytellers with a mission. We want to help teach people some of the awful things that go on from the dark net. There's a big drive on today to try and teach young people how to be able to do their personal finances, something that hasn't been taught in past, and we feel like there's a need for letting people know, look, there are a lot of bad things that go on the internet, and clicking on a link just because it hits that certain level is not something that you want to be able to do. So the storytelling helps make it sound like it's okay. Here's something for you to be able to understand without sounding like it's you're preaching.
And I think to add on to there, it would be not so much that we want to teach people about like how to use it, but how to be cautious, how to be aware that there are so many predators out there today from all different aspects. And so that's where we really like to hone in because of our technology background.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely love that. Now, this is a question I always ask individuals about who I see as conscious leaders, folks who are doing the work like yourselves, but the term conscious leader gets thrown around all the time, and people have different definitions. So I always like to ask people who are exhibiting those behaviors how you would define a conscious leader.
I think from my perspective, and Charles can chime in, but I think it's somebody who is willing to step in and make a suggestion or a thought available when someone really appears to be going down the wrong path. It's not dictating what other people should do, because I have no right to do that, and I don't think Charles feels he does either. But kind of pointing up the other side of it.
What I might camp onto that and say I think it's a process, what we call in the high tech world, and you've been there, Chris. It's called eating your own dog food. If you want me to be conscientious, I need to see that from a leader. I need to see them say, this is the right thing to do. And that helps permeate through to the organization and the people that are watching them, saying, yes, I can admire somebody that will make the hard decisions.
Love that answer as well. Thank you for sharing that. Now, one of the things that I always look for when I meet people is something similar that I have in me. And I'm a person that has, I call it a grateful spirit. I'm grateful for a lot of things in my life, the simple things such as my life, health, ability to sit here, walk and talk. But then I also have things that I'm most grateful for. So I'm curious to know, what would you all say that you're most grateful for all the things you've been able to accomplish in your life, or just maybe just throughout the day, however you want to answer the question is up to you.
I would say that I'm grateful to have people seek my counsel. They
Mm.
look for, answers, solutions. Roxanne will sometimes send a note to me and say, "What do you think?" Um, I feel that's my opinion, and my knowledge base has a positive effect on people. So I like that feeling. I'm helping. I like that.
And I'm grateful to be closer to honest people as I get older.
Mm.
And maybe it's because I'm a little more jaded. But, I find that I don't have a need to have people around me that aren't sincere and are not honest. And, I'll help anyone. I really will. I'll give somebody my very last dollar if it's meaningful to them. I will do that. But it's the dishonesty that I will walk away from in a heartbeat.
Alice, I love that too, because as you say, nowadays in this world where our own media forces nothing but negative images to us, feeds us information that is not just detrimental to our well-being, I should say, to find individuals who are honest, who are authentic, who are caring. That to me is kind of what my goal. And one of the reasons why I do the podcast is to align with other I don't say like-minded individuals, but I would like to say for people who are aligned with my purpose and my passion in life and my principles. Those are the people I love to connect with. Individuals like yourselves who see the value in giving and serving the world, which kind of really takes me into my next question, because I'm curious to know, as an aspiring author myself, what inspired you all to become authors?
Well, we started off in the writing technical manuals. Well, farther back than that, white papers, being able to say, this is what's wrong with your organization. Here's the things that I can see that will help give you better economies of scale, better production events, so better security. I mean, whatever that was, and that morphed into tech manuals, and it's I guess it's that the ability to be able to share our perspective and our objectivity for here's what we think could be done better in your way in your world, and I think that it'll have a positive impact on it.
But we found that technical manuals, because of the rush of technology, shifts and changes, they're outdated. The moment they hit the stands, they're just old. And so, in order to warn people about different aspects of technology that they maybe are getting way too dependent on, we decided we would flip to more of a fictional novel so that we could highlight different aspects of technology, of not maybe allowing technology all the freedoms that it wants.
Mm. You know, my next question is really something I'm really fascinated by, because unlike most people, you all saw something and you took action, and that's what I really admire about that. And that's going to be, I'm really curious for this answer, but what is the Enigma series? And kind of talk about the origins of, you gave the origin story, but I really want to hear why you crafted it and how many books you have, and just really kind of expand on that for our listening audience.
Well, so the Enigma series really starts with the from the premise of the cyber good guys versus the cyber bad guys. So that's where the teaching comes into place. That's where we can examine and highlight the abilities to be able to say, this is a bad use of technology. This is the wrong thing to be able to do. And where it comes from, we actually have the premise where in 1939, when the Germans invaded Poland unprovoked, three patriots conspired to steal the Enigma machine from the Germans and turn it over to the Allies to be able to help build the communications network and understand what the battle plans were being done, that the Germans thought nobody could read. And that helps sets the stage for the high moral ground. Here are, by the third generation, they are still, they have not forgotten those harsh lessons of World War II, and the world is basically still in a combat mode, just on a digital land space. And so it's important to be able to highlight those attributes, because there's always a new threat vector coming over the horizon at you.
And what we find interesting this year, to be honest, is in 1939, Poland was the underdog. None of the Allies stepped up to the plate. None of them really helped to save them, per se. They had to fight, in the streets on their own. And here we are in another confrontation where we have an underdog country like the Ukraine, and who steps in to help. I mean, it's just... some people are going to always step up to the plate. And that goes back to almost your original comment, Chris. Who's going to be a very conscious person and step up and make a difference?
Absolutely. And how many books do you have in your series?
Well, currently we've got 12 in the Enigma series. There's about a bunch of short stories, about 8 or 9, help give backstory information to the main series. And we're looking at launching the next generation of the Enigma series. It'll start first part of next year.
So I didn't want to go into 13 books. For some reason, I just had this barrier. I did not want to release book 13. Okay. Call me superstitious, whatever. But we have taken this generation quite a ways in the 12 books in the series. And so after a lot of arm twisting, I convinced my co-author that we should start a new series, and we're going to call it the Enigma Heirs, because they are the next generation of the cyber heroes.
Agreed. Yeah. And my shoulder's still sore where she convinced me. So I understand.
I'm just curious to know, do you all have, if you're writing a series of books the way you have, is there like a certain flow you can get into that is difficult? I mean, it's different than writing a different book totally with a different topic. Like you just kind of say, I'm in that mindset now, I can just continue it, or do you have to get yourself ready at the same level for each book?
So in our stories, we have a focus on technology because of our professional backgrounds. And fortunately, as the case is, there is no shortage of new technology that's being shared with the world, good or bad. And so we decided that because we have a little baseline knowledge of technology, that we put an element of technology as the focus of every story. So, we have done stories that focus on cryptocurrency, or stories that focus on identity theft. Those things are still relevant today, even though the identity theft one was written close to, 10 years ago. And we recently did a second edition of it because things have changed. But we add that element of technology in there because it's relevant to today's world. It is something that people can relate to and decide, maybe that's a problem. I have one reviewer that read the first book and said, oh my gosh, I went back and changed every single password I have. I went and did this after reading this book. Terrified me. And so because we write as a co-author, and we are totally separated from households and everything else, everything that we do is on some kind of a digital component. So Excel spreadsheet is our friend, and we keep track of the subjects, the characters, and the chapters when we develop a new book. And Charles almost always decides this is the new technology foundation that we're going to use on the next book. And then we have some little powwows and we create kind of an outline.
Yeah, but it's to be fair, we try to make sure that they're all fresh, different. We don't have a formula that we've always used. We don't do that. It's got to be innovative. It's got to be fresh, and it's got to be relevant. And here's the I mean, you asked about using technology in our books. We actually have one where we have this evil genius where he's using technology to be able to decipher the genome, so he can be able to fix the DNA sequences to live forever.
Wow.
So that's the kind of stuff that and then when you get into that, then where's the moral and the ethical boundaries on something like that? Because he didn't have any.
Yes, I get, that's a book I'm actually interested in reading. The more I hear you all's answers, the more intrigued I am about your books. And as you said, with my technology background, it's definitely something I don't have to try to understand the technical aspects of it. It's just I can get into the story of it, and I can definitely relate to some of the things you're speaking of. So I definitely look forward to it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Now, here's a question I have as I'm writing my first book. I'm curious to know, what was the biggest challenge you all had in writing your first book?
I'd say time and discipline. If you do the standard routine of I'll get to it tomorrow, that's the curse, what I call the curse of Macbeth. Tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow. It's always going to be tomorrow when you get around to it. No, everything else becomes subordinate to your writing efforts. If and sometimes I will admit it's intimidating to sit down and look at a blank screen and go, well, why aren't there any words on there? Oh, that's right. That's because I'm supposed to put the words on there. Well, give me an idea, give me a sentence. And you just, you build that cadence and rhythm. I recommend 2 hours of uninterrupted discipline. And it only comes from within. If somebody puts you in timeout and says, you got to go do this, it's not going to work. You have to believe you're going to do it. And you need to see the results, and there's nothing more satisfying than say, I did this.
You also have to realize that as much as you want to write, as much as you're enjoying it, and as much as you're creating this thing that is almost like a child, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be full of all of the warts and flaws that people are all
ready to jump on.
Yeah, it's all over us. But it is something that you have to be aware that not everyone's going to hear your writing the same way you intended. It's just part because they don't have the same frame of reference. If you're writing a thriller with a technology base and the reader only likes to read historical romances when life was rosy and sizzling, then you're doing a mismatch. So we made a lot of stumbles along the way because we hadn't done that side of it. We like to tell stories. We can do the sit around the campfire. We can do the children's stories, all of that kind of aspect. But sitting down writing a full novel is discipline, but it's also making sure that you really know who your target audience is.
Yeah, Chris, I would my counsel on this particular topic is there's two approaches. One is I've got a story to tell, and maybe it's a self-help, maybe it's a personal story. I want to write this and then go look for a market. The other logic, and we've seen this successful as well. I want to write something in this particular marketplace. Go do your research. Who are the top sellers? What are they writing? How are they? Take one of the top 10, get it, snag it, consume it, and say, okay, here's why I think that they're a hit in their particular genre, and maybe that's helped sculpt some of your steps in the approach. Not to copy. That's not what I'm suggesting. But here's what somebody's done that's successful, and maybe that's a good pattern to work from.
And don't let someone else's success baffle you from delivering what you want to deliver. Because if you want to tell a story, then you'll tell a story, and maybe it has to be refined. Maybe it has to be edited. Maybe you need to find beta readers. Those are all available to you, but you do have to have a little thick skin to be able to deal with, somebody saying,
Thick skin. How about some armor on that? Okay.
But some people are going to be, you want criticism. You really do. And so you want somebody who isn't your mom and isn't necessarily your wife, unless your wife was a really, really good English major or another writer. You want to have somebody who won't just pat you on the back and say, oh, that's so nice. I love that. What a good job. It's not what you want. You want somebody who will be honest and open with you. To go back all the way to the beginning of our conversation, you want the honesty. But you want it to be constructive criticism. You want it to be something that helps propel you forward to make it better, not put your nose into the corner like you were 3.
Understood. That's some very valuable advice there. I'm definitely going to heed a lot of that, what you said. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you for sharing. Now, each time I've interacted with you, I've gone to your website, done some research. The pictures I've seen, you always smiling, you always seem happy. And I'm just curious about, you obviously enjoy writing and listen to the way you answer questions in today's podcast. So I'm curious to know, what do you enjoy most about writing?
There's something gratifying about building something from absolutely nothing. The approach to, I have an idea. By the way, that's the 4 most terrifying words in our vocabulary. If either one of us said that to the other, I have an idea. Usually, it's an excuse for saying, "Gosh, look, there's Halley's Comet. Let's go look at that instead." So, it's gratifying to say, okay, we take an idea, we wordsmith it. Sometimes the story goes, it takes a left turn on you. The character says, no, I'm the character that needs to do this, not what not what you're putting down. And so now it becomes I want to see where this goes. I want to see how it develops, and is it going to be the fun idea, or is it going to be a surprise even for me or for Rox to be able to say, that's not quite what we had in mind. Those are sometimes the gifts that you get out of the creativity. Like, well, if this character is this kind of character, they would do this, and here's how the storyline progresses based on these attributes.
And I think the other part is getting to really meet some different people. I love going to book fairs and having readers come up and just want to, chit chat about something, or have somebody come up and go, oh, I got your book, or, any number of different things. And even having the awesome ability to meet someone like yourself, because I don't know that our paths would have crossed if we weren't where we are right now. And for me, that's a valuable connection.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were in a show one time, and I got off on talking to this one character. What a hoot! We were laughing and cutting up about security attributes and the Enigma machine, and come to find out, he was the curator at the military base in San Antonio for all of the encryption devices from the Enigma machine, code Purple. And he started spilling stuff out. He goes, hey, I can get you in. You can see all the neat stuff, and you can push the buttons and have a great time. I'm like,
wow.
How can I do that? He goes, I run the place. Okay, So it's like, but those are the little things that you find when you're passionate about your work, because there's usually somebody you come across that says, I like this, and we love talking to those kind of people.
I concur 100% that, there's definitely joy in making connections and meeting individuals like yourselves who bring a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, a lot of wisdom. That's what I look forward to in my day. It definitely brings me fulfillment throughout my day. Now, you've given some great advice already I just want to see, was there any other advice you would want to give that comes to the top of the head for an aspiring author, someone out there who's interested in writing a book, haven't started, but would find some suggestions that you may have?
So practice would be the number one thing, as Charles mentioned earlier. Get some time in practice. The other
Mm.
thing is find a group that it wants to be like a critique group, or one group of, or another person that wants to be a fair and honest critiquer for you.
Mm.
And that way you have someone to bounce off the ideas. And today, with everybody being virtual everything, you could have somebody that's not your next door neighbor and you're not related to. It could happen. And so I think that's probably where I would add.
Yeah, the writing groups, there's several of them. They're like practically institutions in and around your state, in every state. I know here in the DFW area, they got several writers groups that the one thing they do is just sit around, chaw the fat, and give advice. Okay, here's what I've done. Here's what I've learned. Here's the things that the biggest mantra. Always the biggest mantra is show, don't tell.
Mm.
So when you're writing, if you have to sit there and give the narrative, no, expose it through dialogue. And you need practice, and you need other people who've done it, because it'll take too long to learn how to be able to do it on your own. So and almost everybody I've ever met, all you have to do is say, "Gosh, can you answer me this question? Riddle me this, Batman, because I want to know what you know."
I remember the old Riddle Me Batman reference from the old Batman series. So.
Yeah, I saw it on my History Channel, so I quote it every once in a while.
You are so funny.
I understand. Now, what kind of shift the focus now to really ask some personal questions about yourselves, just to give our listening audience a little understanding of who you are as individuals. And this question would be, what one decision have you, and I know you've made a lot of decisions in your lives, and pretty much throughout your day, you're making decisions, but is there one decision that you can think about that you've made in your life that you would say has been the most meaningful and most impactful in your life?
I can't speak for Roxanne, but for myself, I own my own business early on in my youth. And what I determined at one point is, rather than do everything manually, I would figure out how to be able to do it on a computer. And so the automation of the accounting system, the inventory, basically we were in the early stages of the local area networks, small PC computers. Everybody kept telling me, "No, you've got to do this on a mini computer." I'm like, "Nope, no, I want to do it on the platform that I know will work." And that's what pushed me into the technology world, and I've never looked back. I've worked on technology platforms that nobody even knows anymore. They've vanished from the landscape. So it's that reinventing yourself in the technology world that's most important in my profession. And I get to see and meet some of the most peculiar people you will ever get to meet. If you don't think so, I mean, imagine that at 2:00 in the morning, we're running around the server room waiting for the servers to back up, and we're playing on the wheeled chairs. Who can go around the server racks the fastest? So,
I think if I answered that from my perspective, Chris, it would be along the lines of, to my children, I have sons, and I really wanted them to be able to be independent and to be kind. And so that was really part of what I really focused on, was how for them to accept themselves as being young men, responsible young men, but caring about their family, caring about their children, and being curious without, thankfully, without them ever really getting into any trouble. It was all about being honest with themselves, being true to themselves, and it's worked out really well for me. I hope when I'm, really a doddering old lady, that they will take care of me. That was the whole purpose.
Lucky.
Well, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. Now, as a person who I'm in the business of building relationships, making individuals, building connections,
Yeah.
uh, and I'm a system engineer by training, so I'm very methodical and systematic in how I go about approaching a connection. I have characteristics I look for, and I came up with 8 that I look for before I make a connection with somebody. Not that a person has to have all 8, but at least they have to have some of, I would say at least 2 or 3 of them. Then I had
Okay.
to do a deep introspective analysis and say, well, do I have those 8 characteristics, and get myself in order as well. One of those characteristics is really being growth minded. That's, to me, is one of the most important ones. And I'm curious to know, you are constantly meeting people, interacting with people, as you say, authors, readers that read your work, or just other business individuals. Do you have certain key characteristics that you look for before you accept a LinkedIn connection, or before you agree to meet someone?
Follow through is my first.
Hmm.
That is one of my, if someone says they're going to do something, then they have some kind of value to
Hmm.
me. And I don't mean to be rude about it. It's just that if you're not going to follow through on what you say and you have no honor, then I'll find someone that does have honor and will
Absolutely.
follow through on something else. So for me, that's an important characteristic. So from a LinkedIn, as an example, perspective, just because somebody wants to link in with me, not necessarily, but if they have some elements that I'm interested in, or if they've looked at my profile and know enough about me to make a comment about it, and they're not just collecting a number, then it's a good characteristic. And you share over time. It doesn't mean that you're going to have coffee every day, but that follow through and honorableness is important to me.
I guess for me, it's probably I'm always interested in like what Edward Albee wrote about, which was the theater of the absurd. Okay, here's an event. I need to comment on this, and sometimes that generates feedback. Somebody says, "Huh, I hadn't thought about it in those terms, Charles." And so I kind of look for people who, um, as my father-in-law would say about me, I'm half a bubble off. So that's an important attribute to be able to see it in myself. And sometimes, it's I don't have. I guess I don't go in with that predisposition of what am I going to get out of this relationship. I think that will show itself rather quickly. If it's a sales gig, I appreciate your position. Not interested. If it's just chit chatting, fine. If it's just we want to hear what you have to say. We want to read your posts that are out there. Good. I feel compelled to be able to give on those kind of conditions without you know, I'm not looking for anything in specifically from somebody to make that connection.
Excellent, excellent. Now, kind of a piggyback to that question, because one of the things I do for my clients, I help conscious leaders to build strategic alliances and strategic relationships, because we know we can't achieve these higher purpose goals by ourselves. We have to co-create with other individuals, and I help them identify exactly who are great partners to partner with. So I'd be curious to know, who would you all look at as will be a great strategic partner for you?
Uh, that's and to be fair, we've got several partners that we've cultivated over the years. Our interior design book a gal who does our covers that are, you know, it's always a fun exercise because she's always like, okay, here's the 3 that I want you to go ahead and take a look at and tell me, why I'm out of my mind.
Mm.
That she knows how to be able to deal with this, and that's just after trial and exploration. The gentleman that and his production company that builds the videos for book trailers for our stuff. Our editor and the genre editors that we've worked with over the years, and then some of the marketing muscle that we've cultivated from folks. So we have worked that angle. We know what we need. Where we haven't gotten the traction we really would like, to be honest, would be from the big screen, TV, movies, that kind of thing. Taking it to, and this is for, and I'll just, full disclosure, I tried the being a screenwriter, doing screenwriting stuff. That is, in my estimation, the dark art. I don't know how anybody does that, and it's just like what, and everybody that I've talked with who is a screenwriter goes, "You're an author already. What do you want to do this for?" Screenwriters take stuff that you guys build and turn it into something that could be put on the screen. So stay the course. Don't try to be everything. Don't try to do everything. Look for the people that will help you get to the destination that you want.
And I think one of the other things from a partnership perspective is, I like authors. So I know that you're an aspiring author, and I can't wait to see your book out. I really can't. I'll be first on the list. But toward that end, in general, I do book reviews for lots of different genres. We have a local community Lone Star book tours that I've been fortunate enough to be recently a part of, and a couple of others where I'm able to review books and read lots of different genres. I mean, it's amazing what people will come up with and write about, and how they'll put them out. And so for me, those are all a level of partnership. So as an example for that, I recently listened, because I also like audiobooks, to a book that was written by a Texas peace officer. And I was so taken with this memoir and all of the incidences from a perspective that I, as a normal citizen, I don't think of. And I'll be honest with you, I like going down the freeway probably a little bit more than the speed limit. I always have. Just my thing. I started out with a Z28 and I've never looked back. But the appreciation that I received from hearing all of the stories of this person is totally different than what was portrayed in, the news or in the feeds. And, it was a totally, unknown perspective. So I have actually communicated with that person a couple of times since then. I wrote the review and did the tour and all of that. But, he actually said, "Hey, if you ever come to this part of the world where I'm retired now and you want to, get a tour on the camp, blah, 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 then look me up." So that isn't like a partnership for a benefit other than just me. And those are really valuable. Even meeting you and looking forward to doing this podcast or other podcasts like this, that's a real positive to me. And it's something that makes us strategic going forward. It's like when I did work on Make-A-Wish Foundation, same kind of thing. I was able to give back and do a little bit of extra stuff myself to help.
Yeah. Now, what we would imagine, Chris, is that we've established a relationship with this podcast. We have given you our perspective on things. At some point, and that it's, I guess that I'm going to launch into that statement from the Godfather. And that point may never come, but at some point, I may ask you for some help. You may ask me for some help.
Okay, impersonating, he really wants to be up on the stage. Unfortunately, COVID took that away,
Well, no, like I said, I definitely appreciate the joy, and I definitely appreciate the things you all bring. And absolutely, these kind of conversations, these kind of connections definitely is really what drives me. And I look forward to the infinite possibilities that can come from them. And now, as I talk about energy and having the right mindset, like I said, I know each time I engage with you all, you're both smiling. You both seem like you enjoy each other's company. You enjoy being alive. And I'm curious to know that with all the, like I said before, negative information, the news throws out at you notifications constantly, whether it's political or it's race or it's war, it's environmental, whatever the issue that may be thrown out at us on a daily basis. Are there certain morning rituals that you all deal with, that you go through to kind of keep yourselves in that positive state of mind where you kind of tune all that out and just say, I'm going to set my mindset for the day and I'm just going to stay in this kind of headspace?
I like to cruise on LinkedIn and look for just fun stuff. Just here's a piece of absurdity, or here's a somebody captured that photo from someplace, a sign that was spelled wrong. I mean, or anything like that to kind of give you that chuckle. That see, there's good stuff. There's fun things going on, and all you have to do is look for them. If all you're going to focus on are the things that are like, okay, I know this is going to be a harsh discussion, so I'll push that one off for a little while longer. I know what's going on. Yeah, I need to have some awareness to it, but they're debilitating. I'll be honest. I don't want to have my mind infected with a lot of stuff that's like, this is going in and out, day in and day out, and it's like, no. Give me something positive. Give me some things to be able to enjoy and celebrate that other people said, isn't this funny? I said, yes, this is funny. Or I'll make a humorous comment and everybody camps on the comments that I'll make because my observation is always something just a half a bubble off. And that's what helps resonate with people, I think.
And I do 30 minutes of Zumba every morning with my DVD. That's just how I start.
Zumba, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get up and move, just move.
Excellent. Now we're down to the last two questions I want to ask. This next question, let me kind of set the context of it. And the question is there a king connection that you would like to meet? And what I mean by that, I don't mean a play on my name or my company's name. It's more about I've given to an individual who have achieved a certain level of success, whether it's professional, career, or personal, that you admire, and that if you were able to meet this individual, you could co-create, not coming at them as a fan where you're going to just sit back and admire what they've done, but you're saying, if we were able to work together, we can achieve this. And see, for me, that person is Magic Johnson. Because as a connector, I find ways, I believe everybody's accessible. And it's always a way to get to someone, and I've developed a set of strategies for doing that. It takes some time, but everyone's acceptable or accessible. I'm sorry. So I'm just curious to know who would be a great king connection for you.
I don't know that I can answer that right off the bat, though. I like your frame of reference. It certainly for me would not be a politician. I would find that probably the lowest item on my list. Maybe lawyers would be a little bit below that.
Wow.
But there's an author that I have admired for a very long time, and I've read for a very, very long time, called Bella Andre. And she writes the most wonderful romance, and they're very, it was always my escape when I was doing travel all the time. And she made one Twitter comment to me early on, and I'm like, I'd like to sit down and just talk with her and get her perspective on different things. We're very different styling from a writing perspective, totally different. But that would be a person I'd like perspective on. So that's what I'm hearing you suggest, is that kind of a connection. So
excellent.
I'm not sure I have a good answer for you, Chris. There's so many people that I enjoy their work, and sometimes it's always would it be as much fun to talk with them in person or be that contact, because I have like Kevin J. Anderson, and that's an author I really admire. The world building that he does with his stories, and he's just at it all the time. And his energy levels for being able to crank out, great material on the Dune series, on all the different subcategories. It's like I can't wait, to read the next book that I've got on my shelf. It's just under the one I'm reading about Erwin Rommel, which is my passion has always been World War II. There's so many good lessons to learn from the past, but history is one of the things that I always crank through. That between that and the high tech world, those are the things that I find the most compelling.
And people like yourself. I mean, here you are. You're in the same field as myself and Charles. We would not have met you had it not been for Mickey. So Mickey is like the ideal king connection in letting us meet people like you. So Mickey Mickelson is, that's a connection we happen to have together, and we share that. But, you would be a great person to sit down and have, a lunch with and just talk about a whole myriad of subjects, because you have experience, you have ideas, you have thoughts. So those are the best kinds of people to meet. People that spark your ideas.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
We like that.
Yeah,
we do.
Well, thank you for saying that. I definitely concur with that. And that's why I really advocate the importance of what I call building connectionally intelligent tribes. Mm-hmm. It's like, let's get away from these tribes that we're forced into, or they try to force us into by our race, gender, color, sexual orientation, political party, whatever they're trying to put you in. But choose a tribe with people that you actually like to talk to, that you don't have to put forth so much energy trying to convince and argue and get them to see your perspective, but just naturally in alignment with, and that you can learn from, and that's willing to listen and willing to engage. And you're absolutely right. I feel the same way. Last question. And now you all mentioned several different books throughout this interview, so I don't know if this answer is going to change or be different, but I'm curious to know, is there one book that you would recommend, or it could be multiple books that you recommend that has been the most influential in your lives, that you would say to our listening audience, this is a book you should definitely read because this book had this kind of impact on me and I recommend it? Or it could be a book you've read recently that may have, that just really touched you and say, well, this book's top of my mind and I just recommend this is a book that people should go purchase or at least look at.
Well, I think it's going to have to be the most recent one I did. It's called Black and White, and it's written by a gentleman who was a Texas trooper, and it's trying to walk in someone else's shoes, and I think that's part of it for me. Is I learn more from learning about you, and memoirs in general, I can't say I jump up and down for, but when they're told well and they're told with meaning, I'm all about it. And that's what this gentleman did. Ben English is his name, and he's stellar.
Well, and the book series that I'm always fascinated by is the Dune series, Kevin J. Anderson and Brian Herbert Jr. Those are I find it fascinating that they have a universe that they built based on just sketches that were left behind by Frank Herbert on the Dune series. It's like, and the one book was so fabulous that they tried to mimic and take the storyline further, and it just never seemed to work. I tried to read all the rest of his stuff, but for Anderson and Herbert Jr., what they built is spectacular from a worldview and science fiction fantasy. I think that it allows you to be able to build in your mind exactly what it would be like in some of these shows, and he spans multiple generations of the technology in the mythology in the series.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And again, thank you for your investment of time and energy and joining me on the King Connections podcast. As we begin to wrap things up, I want to give you an opportunity to share any closing thoughts you all have, words of wisdom, as well as your contact information for folks who want to read your Enigma series and then get in contact with you and just want to learn more from you, engage with you.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that time. That's really, wonderful, Chris, that you would
Yeah.
allow us this kind of a venue. I think two things we'd like to point out is from a fictional writing perspective. You know, we go from the foundation that technology is today's weapon of choice.
Mm.
And because of that, people need to be cognizant of what technology is doing for them and to them. Enigmaseries.com is our website, and there's links to my book review blog and the series blog and all of that. There's also free downloads to help folks. So things so simple as how to deal with passwords. It's a free download. You know, help yourself. Sign up for our newsletter and connect with us if you want directly. Authors at enigmaseries.com.
Well, and some of the other free downloads, just advice, like how to avoid phishing scams. You know, what's a phishing scam look like? So we have some examples, and here's how you defeat this. Hovering your mouse over it. Yeah, just here, this is information that you should know, and if you don't, please accept it from us, gratis.
Excellent, excellent. Well, again, thank you all for your time, your wonderful insights you shared. Like I said, the energy you brought, the wisdom. I just really appreciate where you are in your lives, and I definitely look forward to beginning to be a reader of the Enigma series. I definitely recommend others go to the website, begin to look at the books. Not only I'm sure it's going to be entertaining and informative, but at the same time, it's going to be something that's going to help you understand how to deal with this world of technology that's constantly changing. And I can speak firsthand that technology is something that if you don't get a handle on, it's definitely going to have a handle on you. So that's one of the things that you all help people see. And listening audience, I want to thank you all for listening to King Connections again. Until the next show, I want to wish everyone a blessed and productive day. Again, thank you all, Charles and Roxanne, for being a part of the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Next time.